Hello and welcome to Freedom News, the news you can use to help keep Canada free. From the Globe and Mail, we have this article. I'm going to read the entire article, so please do pay attention, not just simply pay attention to the headline. Scheer says a conservative government would continue campaigning for UN Security Council seat. I know, I saw that, I'm like, what the hell? But, bear with me. It's not what we may think. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer says he would continue Canada's campaign for a seat on the United Nations Security Council if he becomes Prime Minister following the fall's federal election. However, Mr. Scheer said he would not sell out Canadian principles including democracy, the rule of law, and fundamental human rights in an effort to secure votes from other countries for a seat on the UN's most powerful branch. Quote, and this is from Andrew Scheer, I think that Canada can play a very valuable role and would have a major contribution to make, but not at the expense of selling out our principles or selling out our long-standing positions on various issues, and certainly not contributing to actions abroad where there are no clear Canadian interests, end quote. Mr. Scheer said in an interview with the Globe and Mail last week. I'm going to continue reading the article. Canada's top envoy to the UN said member states can actually applaud the fact that Canada stands up for its values on the world stage and have not expressed concerns about Canada's foreign policy priorities, including its tense relationship with China, in its talks about the Security Council seat. Many countries actually appreciate the fact that Canada stands very strongly for values and is acting as a beacon of human rights in the world, UN Ambassador Marc-Andre Blanchard said in an interview last month. Pause here. We normally do. Of course, under this current government, we haven't. We've actually backed Cuba, voted in favor of Cuba when the issue of human rights were brought up by the United States. So that's no longer the case, but we will again be a voice for human rights and such under a conservative government. Article continues. Mr. Scheer said he would make the case to countries around the world about the important role Canada could play on the Security Council. His predecessor, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, had a strained relationship with the UN, withdrawing Canada's candidacy for a Security Council seat in 2010 when it became clear Canada would lose to Portugal. In the 2015 federal election, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau campaigned on a commitment to restore Canada as a leader in the world. Pause. Which he has horribly failed, unless you count being a leader in the world as an example of jesters and fools. I continue. After taking office, Mr. Trudeau announced Canada's plan to pursue one of 10 rotating non-permanent seats on the Security Council in 2021-22, a campaign that is now underway. Canada last sat on the Security Council in 1999 to 2000. Mr. Scheer said he would not ask the Canadian campaign for the seat, but criticized the Trudeau government's approach. When, quote from Mr. Scheer, when I look at what this government has done, with governments that just have no common ground on democracy, on the rule of law, on fundamental human rights. I'm not interested in compromising any of Canada's positions on those issues just to win a seat on the council, Mr. Scheer said. Mr. Scheer did not point to any specific examples during the interview, but his press secretary said the Tory leader takes issue with the Trudeau government's relationship with China, particularly its decision to send taxpayer money to China's Asian Infrastructure Bank as Beijing continues to detain 2 Canadians. Canada has drawn into the dispute between China and the United States when it arrested Huawei Technologies Co. Limited executive Meng Wanzhou in Vancouver on an extradition request from the United States in December. Ms. Meng faces allegations of fraud relating to U.S. sanctions against Iran. In apparent retaliation, China detained Canadians Michael Korveg and Michael Spavor days after Ms. Meng's arrest. It also barred or restricted Canadian agricultural imports such as canola, beef, and pork products. Mr. Scheer has said Mr. Trudeau needs to stop getting bullied around by China. He said Canada should withdraw from the China-backed Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, lodge a formal complaint to the World Trade Organization about Beijing trade's actions against China, and draw up a list of retaliatory measures over China's behavior. I wholeheartedly agree. And as I take Mr. Scheer to imply previously, that this would just be the tip of the iceberg, the least he can do. The article continues. A spokesperson for Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland's office said Canada's campaign for the Security Council is focused on promoting its values, including democracy, human rights, and a more prosperous future for all, a message that is resonating with UN member states. Pause. That, of course, as we know, is completely not true. If they were really standing up for democracy, human rights, and a more prosperous future for all, they wouldn't be siding with the dictators that plague the UN. So we're basically going to do all this for real. Not try and play pretend and fool the Canadian public. The Conservatives' plan is to do these things for real. We'll actually see this happening instead of the fraudulent actions of the Liberals. Article continues. The Security Council has 15 members, 5 permanent countries, China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and 10 non-permanent seats that are chosen in rotating elections. The 193 UN member states will vote for the 2021-22 seat next June. So, with a few months roughly after our election. So this will be June 2020. The Council has significant influence in determining what constitutes threats to international peace and security. I'm going to pause here. This I did not realize. This actually would be advantageous for Canada to have a seat at this council. A conservative ambassador to the UN being at this council could actually push more towards Islamic terrorism, Sikh extremism, and such, and deal with the real threats to this world. I applaud this approach. Article continues. Calling upon parties to settle disputes and authorizing the use of sanctions to force to address a conflict. A seat on the body ensures a vote in decisions. This is interesting. Mr. Blanchard, a high-powered Quebec lawyer appointed to the UN by Mr. Trudeau, recently revealed the government's 5-point platform for the coveted seat: economic security, sustaining peace, fighting climate change, bleh, advancing gender equality, bleh, and strengthening multilateralism. Ugh. Canada's campaign for a Security Council seat comes amid an attack on the multilateral system by some protectionist world leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, who argue that the UN is ineffective. Well, it is, and it's not that actually Trump is attacking multilateralism. He's attacking the fact that the U.S. has been given a raw deal, and well, it has, and he wants the U.S. to get a better deal. So that is the full story in a nutshell. You're going to see things out in social media attacking Scheer on this and everything. This is why I took the time to read this full article. It's not as what we may first appear. It's actually a good, proper approach. So this is good. I also would expect that Andrew Scheer will not be throwing away our money out the country like Trudeau has. He's got a budget to get back to balance and such, and make Canada economically strong again, as well as make Canada great again. So I hope this is enlightening. I hope this brought some understanding, facts, and hope you share and help prevent people from jumping off the deep end without thinking. Thank you for watching, and like if you like, share, comment, and of course subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you are able to, if you could, please click on that PayPal link in the description and make some form of a donation. It would be much appreciated. Thank you, and have a good day.